Hello and welcome back. Today we will be continuing our Victoria 3 tutorial series, and we're going to be talking about the top 6 new interest group bonuses that have appeared in 1.5.1. Now again, 1.5.1 is part of the public open beta, and so expect numbers to change and perhaps even bonuses to change, but we're going to go into the very top ones that we have here. And just as an example, many of the religions have changed what they have, and normally this is be fruitful and multiply, which gives plus 2.5% pop growth, but we see here for the Sunni ulema and all Muslims, they get plus 50% conversion, right? And so this is just an example. I don't think this is necessarily very strong, but you can convert a whole lot now as Muslims if you decide to go like a religious run, and so they might be one of the better ones for doing this, especially if you just want to convert everyone. And so I think what we will be talking about is both the top 6 in terms of balance, but also how these different bonuses might inform different play patterns, so the play is not just cookie cutter. And I think that this is probably going to be the bigger takeaway of the video, assuming that stuff gets rebalanced. And so without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, in 6th place, we have Brazil and or Egypt. Now, these are kind of more of an honorable mention one, because I think the power level's not there to necessarily, change an entire run around this. But I think if you do want to go agrarian, you do want to pick up one of these guys for the agricultural and throughput plantations changes. Now, Egypt has been changed to 15% agriculture and 15% plantations. Brazil, I think, might be stronger with 10% agricultural and 20% plantations, because plantations are generally better, but the more throughput you have, the less useful throughput is, so Egypt's bonus might be better. But we also see this interesting modifier on Brazil, 25% migration attraction on their rural folk, which is kind of why we're focusing on them, which means that you can attract pops way better, especially when combined, with the standard migration attraction on propagandists. Now, why is this so much better to have agricultural and plantations? Well, the normal rural folk has 10-10-10 on agricultural, plantations, and livestock. And if we just briefly jump into the browser here, we can see that the livestock ranches in general, as a PM, are going to be less efficient than grain, and also a lot less efficient than any sort of plantations. And so, as a result of this, in terms of all the input goods, the value of the output goods minus the input goods, livestock's just not that great. And so getting livestock bumped off and then also getting this migration attraction means that if you wanted to do some sort of agrarian heavy run, now Brazil might be the kind of country to do it on. And so this might affect play patterns in a way that you like. East India Company might be good for this too as a result of their mapping and kind of some of their states. They do have really high, they have some really nice states when it comes to giving and agriculture and plantations throughput bonus. Notably, Egypt does too, but Egypt is going to run out of stuff fairly quickly, but we do see agriculture and plantations throughput. And so this is kind of, if you're going to go agrarianism, which is not very good, it's probably best on these types of countries. And so we have Brazil with their rural folk coming in clutch. Now, you do lose the infrastructure bonus, and there's no more logging on rural folk at all, but you lose the infrastructure bonus. But I think migration attraction is probably better, especially because when infrastructure flicks off, it's actually can be pretty annoying to lose infrastructure in a bunch of places, and so you'd rather have a bonus that's good when it's useful some of the time, while infra might be more powerful. If it flicks off, it's actually pretty annoying. And so we have Brazil with their rural folk in 6th place. Next up, we have Sweden and their Petite Bourgeoisie, which has a 20 or a 10% mines throughput. When doubled, it's 20%, which is quite strong, especially in the early game. Now, Sweden itself doesn't have a lot of coal and suffers from this, but you can go out and get some coal, and mines throughput is quite a bit stronger, than extra bureaucracy, I think. And also, as we mentioned with like the Brazil, with the infrastructure, when you lose the mines throughput, it's less annoying than when you lose bureaucracy and it causes you to dip, into negative bureaucracy, which kills money. Now, notably, they also do have this mining tax income instead of, the extra 5% on capitalist investment pool contribution efficiency, and I think that's worse than having 10% on the capitalist investment pool contribution efficiency. But this makes, like, for an interesting play style where maybe if you want to go super mine-centric, especially, taking a look at some of their resources in the early game, some of their state bonuses, where you have iron mines throughput, lead mines throughput, and on this sort of thing, Sweden could be be an interesting choice. They do suffer from lack of pops in terms of a run, but the Petite Bourgeoisie in Sweden, it does seem quite a bit better. So does the Church of Sweden, but we'll get to that in just a second. But just keep in mind that their Industrialist is probably worse, and so that's Sweden being in 5th place with their new Petite Bourgeoisie. Next up, we have the entire Protestant religion in 4th place, which notably includes Sweden, but we're going to look at it through Prussia's eyes. And coming in here, they, instead of getting be fruitful and multiply, they get 5% company throughput bonus. So instead of 2.5% pop growth, they get this, and it can be doubled. And this throughput bonus is going to apply to everything you have a company for. Now, when you have, you know, several company slots, and these companies can have up to 3 of these, you know, if you situate it correctly, you know, you can have up to, you know, 12 to 15 different industries that are getting, you know, this 10% throughput bonus, which is really strong, especially on the resource industries. And so it's possible now that going religious will make more sense in the late game. And if you're going to do this, it's interesting because, you know, generally the interest group kind of suffers as you get into the late game and starts losing a lot of clout. The reason for this is the literacy rate. And so what you can do is you could just not pump the education. You can just bring the education down, and the religious folk will stay strong, and you can do a little bit of a religious run, you know, kind of centered around getting this extra company throughput bonus, which is present on all Protestants. So you have it on Sweden, you have it on Great Britain, you have it on Prussia, you have it on the East India Company even. And so this is going to be, you know, kind of an interesting one that you can center your run around and maybe do a bit of a religious run, which hasn't been present as much before. And so this is going to be, you know, quite strong. Notably, the Be Fruitful and Multiply bonus is also pretty good, especially with the new population growth nerfs. You're more likely to run into pop problems than this sort of thing. So I think that this is a bit better than that, but it is notable that that bonus was already good to begin with, and I do think, you know, the laws are such that maybe a religious run is not best, but it can be something that's interesting to play around with and something that can, you know, inform your run if you want to play and lean into the religious group, you know, a little bit. And now there is a bit of an incentive, especially into the late game, you know, when the main throttle on your company or on your economy is running out of all these resources. And so if you do this and you have additional resources, you know, your economy will be less throttled, because throughput is really good on resources for 2 reasons. One, they have a cap. You can't build more of them, and so you can't get more of the resource by just building more of it like you can with a manufactory. And so it's a lot better on resources, but also, you know, 2, you tend to get less throughput from economies of scale on resources. You know, we see that we can build up to level 40 in Prussia and Anhalt. We need to be 51 to get the max throughput bonus, and the less throughput bonus you have, the more valuable it is. If I get you know, a 20% throughput bonus when I have 0% throughput, I'm getting 20% more of a building. If I get a 20% throughput bonus when I already have 100%, I'm effectively getting 10%, you know, increase relative to what I had before. And so this Be Fruitful and Multiply bonus on all Protestants kind of is in 4th place for, you know, the best of these unique interest group bonuses that we can have. In 3rd place, we have Great Qing with their Armed Forces bonus, which is very difficult to evaluate, but before we talk about it, just wanted to note that they have minus 100% radicals from standard of living decreases if they have a powerful religious group. So speaking of different religious group bonuses, they do tend to be different for a bunch of different religious groups. We just talked about Protestantism in the beginning. We talked about how the Muslims get extra conversion rate, and here we get, you know, minus 100% radicals from standard of living decreases, which of course has been doubled because they're bonus or they're powerful. But the armed forces in particular is very intriguing. I don't know how good this bonus is, and it's very difficult to evaluate, but newly created army gives minus 25% military goods cost. If it's doubled, it's minus 50% military goods cost, and this is a free money modifier, because the way military goods cost, the way this modifier works, is it just decreases the cost of these goods, but the buy orders for these goods maintain, you know, the same value. So here we could see we have only 3K for goods for military goods, and we're spending them on small arms and man-o-wars. as this is decreased by 25%, this doesn't decrease the amount of money that's getting paid to our small arms manufacturers or, our shipyards. It doesn't decrease that at all, and it just makes us cost less, which means however much we're saving on this is just free money that is being spun into the economy, which makes this very, very interesting as a military-industrial complex type of run, which I have to test, so I really don't know how strong this is. I think it might be really, really, really strong, or just kind of mid. And the reason why it might be just kind of mid is overall, the goods for your military buildings, not a huge portion of your national expense most of the time. However, if you lean into it and you're just like, I'm going to build more of these, we will see, if we come into our buildings here for China and go to our military shipyards, let's say, if this building is profitable, which it's not, if we had more of these, the value that is being paid in this weekly balance, if we're saving 50% on, all of our military goods, then half of this is just free money that's being spun into the economy. Really important to emphasize, this is just, and it's going to rotate. So if we have an output that's positive and it's, the 612 figure, right, in addition to the wages, or not, it covers the wages, this 612 figure, all the pops that are getting paid out this 612 figure, they're going to consume goods. They're going to buy consumer goods, this sort of thing. If there's a positive balance, that's going to be paid out in dividends tax. Even if there's just wages, those guys are going to get taxed. And what's footing the bill for half of this is absolutely nothing. Freebies, we take those. Now, if it's free, it's for me. You know what I mean? Now, on top of that, we have peasant levies too, which gives minus 25% military goods cost, and it disallows multiple production methods. And this is the reason why it's kind of not very good in 1.4 or previous. But if you stack this with a powerful, newly created army, this means you get minus 75% on military goods costs, which is just free money that's being spun into the economy. So, in terms of an interesting run, I think it might be very interesting now to do like a military-industrial complex with Qing, where you way overbuild the military, once your economy starts stagnating a little bit, just to stimulate the economy, just with this bonus from the armed forces of getting the decreased military goods cost. It's not just about saving you money, although to be fair, an interest group bonus just giving you a whole bunch of money is pretty nice. We here, would be paying double for the military goods, goods for military buildings, but we are getting minus 25, or no, we're not getting minus 25%. We could just demonstrate this right now though. So let's actually, throw these guys in government and pass something that they like and get this bonus. So we see right now we're paying 3.6k for goods for military buildings. So if we just come in and let's pass a law that they like dedicated police force, they like that, don't they? This is going to make them very happy. We are going to get our bonus here, minus 25%, and we are making, it was costing 3 point something K. Now it's only costing 2.4K, right? And these are still the same number of buy orders that are going into the economy. So still same amount of goods being consumed, but now just this margin by which we're saving is just free stimulus into the economy that's going to be spent on consumer goods. Like, it's not just that it's the military goods are cheaper, but now all these goods, all the money that goes into that is now going to be spent on consumer goods, making your consumer goods industries more profitable, right? Because if we can buy a whole bunch of shipyards, if we have a bunch of military shipyards, right, and those are paying in, a bunch of money, then those pops are going to consume more, which is going to raise, prices, because generally prices get deflated as the game goes on, and this is a way to stimulate and prevent that deflation. And so, I don't know how strong it is though, because again, caveat, generally, military goods, very small portion of your economy. It gets bigger as you get into later military goods, and what's really going to come down to is this mobilization, how all of these are kind of play out, because we can keep our army mobilized and make it consume more groceries. These groceries benefit from the minus 25%, or the minus 50%, or minus 75%. So this is extra, buy orders for groceries and for grain, in basic supplies. And as we get more mobilization options, we will be able to do more stuff. So this one, to me, is very, very, very exciting. I don't really know if it's belongs in third place. Third place is where we have it. It might be way better. It might be way worse. But I think it's very important to note what it is effectively replacing, because our 10% is giving us research speed instead of our 5% getting research speed. What it's effectively replacing is the plus 15% offense and defense, which is a fairly good modifier to begin with, but I think that it is well worth it, and is also an interesting one for doing a military-industrial complex type run, and so I think it's interesting how it informs or allows for a new type of play style, because normally you don't overbuild the military. It doesn't make sense to do it, but here, now it really might make some sense to do it. All right, in second place, we have the UK, but before we get into their special interest group, just wanted to note they do have the Protestant work ethic, and this one is doubled for plus 20 or plus 10% company throughput bonus, which is really strong early game again. But the thing that's insane about them is their Petite Bourgeoisie is just absolutely nuts. We have civil service. Now, normally this gives 10% bureaucracy. Here we have it giving 5% bureaucracy and 50% authority. I think this might actually just be someone misentered the number and it's supposed to be 5% authority, but 50% authority is obscene. You can see we have made them happy by trying to pass a law, and we're up to 720 authority, and we're getting plus 50% from Petite Bourgeoisie civil service. Let's see what happens when we cancel this law. Ba-boop. And this is going to drop down to 370. Precipitous drop. This makes the UK one of the best, probably the best country to do a fascist run on now, because if you get these guys powerful, this is going to be plus 100% authority. You know, you're going to be getting a whole bunch of this stuff from like ethno-state and all that yard anyways. You know, plus 200 authority. You're probably going to want to stay monarchy with Victoria, because this is going to have a really nice bonus, another plus 200 authority. You have so much flat authority, and then you're going to come in there, swoop in, Mr. Steal Your Girl with plus 50% authority, or plus 100 if they're powerful. That's insane. So you're going to be able to put down, you know, resource edicts everywhere, construction edicts everywhere, blast, 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 blast. This is absolutely insane. But wait, there's more. There's the freak in the streets, freak in the sheets bonus here we have, which is the 15% loan interest rate. Normally this is just 10% loan interest rate. Here it's minus 15% loan interest rate. When you stack a bunch of these modifiers, like, for example, also getting onto laissez-faire, which notably in this is going to give you one max number company, but this is kind of beyond the purview, you get minus loan interest rate. So minus 25% loan interest rate stacked with, you know, minus 30% loan interest rate, that's minus 55% loan interest rate. We'll also have a decreased interest rate. We can't show it here, but we have a decreased interest rate as well from being a GP, which I think is another 25%. I'm not sure off the top of my head. You know, if those start to stack up, and if you stack a lot of those, you can also get some from tech, which I think mainly affect not the direct interest rate, but rather the it's multiplicatively effective. This minus 2% loan interest rate is affecting the flat interest rate. But anyways, when you stack all of these modifiers, you basically pay no interest. And so this means that you will just get access to a ton of money basically for free to just ramp up construction, and then, you know, you're going to construct faster with a bunch of like road maintenance edicts that you're getting off the back of, you know, your authority. Just absolutely insane. So if you want to go fascist or lean into the Petite Bourgeoisie, this is probably the country to do it on now. Very, very impressive. Now, a bit of a caveat. Overall, I think that the fascist, you know, Petite Bourgeoisie heavy run is not that good, because it forces you to discriminate heavily, because people are only eligible to become Petite Bourgeoisie if they're of your primary culture, and so it creates this weird catch-22. You can't assimilate people unless you accept them. If you accept a bunch of pops, those pops will have quite a large amount of, you know, clout, and this means that you'll have less Petite Bourgeoisie clout. And so what you're probably going to do is something like bolster them, you know, look for modifiers that are decent, you know, for any way you can try and increase assimilation. You probably want to go into that, or you want to just go ethno-state and just blast and deal with the fact that you discriminate, you're not going to have migration, and you're going to have a very powerful PB, but I mean, what are you going to do? Very, very, very interesting on the UK. Also, of course, just got to note, they do have the 10% company throughput bonus, which is also going to be quite strong. But this one is just obscene, really, with the 50% authority. So in second place, we have the UK's Petite Bourgeoisie. Just wanted to point out a company as an example of a way to get more assimilation because I thought it would be interesting. In order to get this company, you need Burgundy. It gives you textiles and coal, so that's pretty good. Anytime you have a resource attached to manufacturing, or at least one resource in there, it's going to be quite good. And we have 5% assimilation. In order to get this company, you have to own and integrate the state of Burgundy, which is, somewhere around here. Don't remember exactly where Burgundy is, but this is the requirement. And, chasing these types of modifiers might be something you can do if you want to do a semi-discriminatory, like UK run, where you maybe do something like national supremacy, where you're going to share, have a shared culture trait, and you look to convert a lot of them to your primary culture or this type of thing, and then maybe you go racial segregation and try and convert. But I think it's going to be kind of hard to maintain this high clout unless you're really discriminatory, or you get onto one of these late, you get onto the political agitation and you go the fascist type of event chain and this sort of thing. But it's interesting to kind of think about, and it informs a new play style, a new run style, with the UK's Petite Bourgeoisie being so strong. And finally, in first place, we have France's Industrialist bonus, which is just absolutely insane. But I just wanted to note, France actually has 6 unique interest group modifiers or interest group bonuses, and most of them are actually locked behind Voice of the People DLC, so this is just a heads up. We'll get to the Industrialists last, but we do have Armed Forces. Instead of 15% offense and defense, they get 25% offense. This is probably better in single player because you can win wars faster, and probably worse in multiplayer because I think defense is actually really strong, and I think you'd rather have 15% defense and offense. They do have the this in the trade unionist, where in addition to getting workforce ratio, it also gives political strength when receiving welfare. This is the only unique trade unionist group in all of the game. They have 2 unique bonuses on their Petite Bourgeoisie, which is that instead of the loan interest rate, they get state penalties, minus 10% state penalties from turmoil, which is probably not as good, and plus 50% loyalists from standard living increase. I think this is maybe not as good as the loan interest rate, but we have the loan interest rate anyways here, where it's 75% of the old loan interest rate, but it's on the plus 5 instead of the admin. And I think overall this Petite Bourgeoisie is stronger than your standard Petite Bourgeoisie. And then we have what I think is a nerf, which is minus 10% prestige on their Intelligentsia, plus 10% prestige instead of plus 25% migration attraction. I think in terms of a run, someone pointed out to me on the Discord that joining their customs union can be a little bit better because the Intelligentsia will not get the plus 50% migration bonus, so it can be easier to siphon off pops from France. France has a lot of European pops, so this can be an interesting strategy. But what we're all here for, the very best bonus in the game, 5% prestige? No, that's not what we're here for. 10% state construction efficiency, and that's while they're at 10% cloud right now, right? So if you get them above 20%, as these bonuses work, they will double for plus 20% state construction efficiency. I was practicing a run where we had a happy Petite Bourgeoisie. We had this bonus, minus state penalties from turmoil, just on like 5% or whatever, and we had plus 20% state construction efficiency. We conquered a new state, and we could build there no problem. Your GDP growth rate is effectively your construction, and this is giving you plus 20% construction across the board, effectively speaking, before you account for other modifiers. So you will have state construction efficiency from a lot of things. You will be getting it a little bit from construction centers, not that much. You will also be getting it from companies. This is probably going to be the better source of it now here in Victoria 3, where if we put this in, we're going to be getting plus 35% almost, just about, company construction bonus. So it's not like these bonuses aren't anywhere else, but like, man oh man, 20% construction efficiency is so much better than a bonus to IPT, which IPT falls off late game anyways. This doesn't fall off as hard as investment pool does as you approach like 2 billion GDP, where it actually becomes kind of irrelevant. the industrialists are just absolutely insane here on France. And I am expecting this to be nerfed in terms of the numbers, but I think even if it were cut in half, this might be the best interest group. Maybe, England's UK is better, but, in the texture of a run and what's meta, getting a powerful industrialist is meta anyways. Getting a powerful PB is not meta, right? So going out of your way to get a powerful PB is an investment. Going out of your way to get a powerful industrialist is not. I think even if you cut this bonus in half, where it gave 2.5% prestige, or even double the prestige and half the state construction efficiency, whatever, even if it were just giving 5% state construction efficiency, I think this would be still the best, modifier. It slots in well, and I'm expecting it to get nerfed, but maybe it won't get nerfed, and one of the reasons why is almost all of these bonuses are behind Voice of the People, and, this is why they gave France more bonuses than anyone else. They did want to add a little bit more to that content, and it makes sense. It's a little, I won't say it's pay to win, because you can just run over the AI no matter what, but, it leads to me to believe that they really do want a bit of a pushed bonus on stuff that they have tied to DLC, which to me makes sense. I don't really begrudge them that, and so we might see this stay in the game, and it is the strongest bonus. Now, does it affect your run at all? Not really, because, getting a powerful industrialist is pretty meta, but what does happen is, normally you really want to go Council Republic in the late game. And the reason for this is because money is getting annihilated and you want to go into cooperative ownership. The reason, of course, for those of you who don't know, is that this investment pool is subject to a modifier. Right now it's 0.99 because our GDP is not very big. As you approach 2 billion, it will be siphoning a ton of money out of the economy because it will become a let's hover the right thing. It will become a 0.3 modifier, meaning that 70% of the money that gets put into the investment pool just gets annihilated, and so you'd rather give less investment pool, and so you'd rather have stuff be less capitalist owned, which of course decreases capitalist clout, especially if you go, Council Republic and then also go cooperative ownership. You annihilate and completely eliminate the industrialist. Now, it might be the case that you just pretty much, no matter what, don't want to get these guys under 20% clout. You just stay the course in terms of capitalism or bust. We don't go Council Republic on this run. We want our construction efficiency. Now, construction also falls off, but it falls off closer to 5 billion GDP. With a lot of construction is probably going to fall off a lot less with companies allowing you to get so much throughput, on all these resource industries, allowing the resource industries to really stay in the game longer. And so, in terms of changing the texture of the run, I don't think this changes the texture of the run that much. I think that if anything, what changes the texture of the run most is France's Intelligentsia sucking, because they don't give migration attraction, and if they don't give migration attraction, and also you get minus penalties from turmoil, which means it's easier to build in states you conquer, especially because, with the way the maths, minus state penalties from turmoil stacked with plus construction efficiency means that the turmoil you get from conquered areas is way not as bad. And so maybe you just France is probably better just for rampage and conquest, also pairs well with the offense, and where you don't really try and do this migration business because your intelligentsia suck at it anyway, and you instead embrace your ability to kind of build in conquered territory and maybe go also a bit fascisty, or lean into eventually you'll get Louis Napoleon Bonaparte II, or whatever his name is, the dark warlord of undeath himself. And so if you do this, maybe it's also a run where you can lean into the PB. Their PB does seem a little bit better. Loyalists from standard living increases is also pretty nice, because if you're increasing standard of living and you're discriminating against a whole bunch of people, maybe they don't care enough to do this. If you have this doubled bonus, maybe I'm just underappreciating plus 100% loyalists from standard living increases ability to deal with the fact that people will be mad at you for being an ethno-state, and maybe an ethno-state France run would be interesting. But even if you just vanilla run France, and you get a powerful intelligentsia anyways, and you just get this kind of nothing burger bonus or whatever, maybe you just I think this just carries quite strongly and quite firmly, and is interesting. I think in theory, the bonuses you would want on France to maybe have and be doubled, or if you were to pick 4, would be industrialist, trade unionists, petite bourgeoisie, and rural folk, and now the intelligentsia falls by the wayside. there's generally not a way to have trade unionists and industrialists powerful and intelligentsia weak. Unless maybe you go religious, maybe you go Catholic Church, maybe you want be fruitful and multiply because the intelligentsia is not so good anymore, and then you keep the literacy low. The literacy low makes it hard to keep the trade unions powerful, but maybe you can get the rural folk up. Something like this is maybe going to be your France friend, but this bonus is just obscene. I can't emphasize enough how crazy this bonus looks. Like the UK's bonus looks crazy, but like this bonus just looks like, I mean, maybe I'm underappreciating 50% authority too, because that's also a really strong bonus, but this one just really, really sticks out to me, the construction efficiency, because there's going to be a lot of things that are just, you're constructing at like regular efficiency because you don't have any construction sectors there and you're not building, something that's part of a company, and just building buildings 20% faster means your GDP grows 20% faster, right? Your GDP growth rate, and GDP growth rate's like exponential, right? When you grow and you have 120 buildings instead of 100, now those buildings will support you being able to build up quite a lot more, than what you could build before because your economy is bigger. So it's going to have a compounding effect, this industrialist thing. And so you just maybe you just go full capitalist hellscape. But I digress a little bit here, this is kind of the point. We have in first place France. So just quick recap of all the bonuses that we discussed. We had Brazil, their rural folk here, where they are getting extra migration attraction in addition to more plantation bonus, which is quite strong. We also have agriculture and plantations on Egypt, making Egypt a reasonable one for going agrarian or doing an agrarian run, but also this migration attraction when paired with the intelligentsia's migration attraction means if you can get a big market, you're going to suck off all the pops, especially if you can also nab New York for the 25% bonus, and you can just create the absolute paradise that everyone wants to come to. So that's 6th place Brazil. In 5th place, we have Sweden and their Petite Bourgeoisie, which of course is a little bit different because it's a mining paradise, and they are getting a whopping 10% mines throughput instead of increased administration, which is kind of an annoying modifier anyways, because when it turns on and off, you often find yourself in a bureaucratic deficit, and that's like an annoying kind of mechanic thing. They are quite strong. Also notably, they also have the 4th place, which is the Church of Sweden. For them, it's named other than that, but every Protestant group getting the plus company throughput bonus is going to be quite strong, especially really early on in the game when you're effectively, if you have a 50% throughput bonus, 10% is not worth as much as when you have 0 throughput bonus, and you have 0 throughput bonus often in the early game, and so it's going to make all your buildings effectively 120%, 110% of a building, depending on or 110%, because these guys are already powerful. In 3rd place, we have the very interesting Qing modifier, which is their new army, something like this. It's on their armed forces, and it is just it's an interesting one to think about because it spins free money into the economy, and if you wanted to do a military-industrial complex run, getting this, doubling it by having them powerful for minus 50% military goods cost, and then also maybe staying on peasant levies for a total of minus 75% military goods cost, depending on how many production methods and mobilization methods this disallows. It might not make sense to do peasant levies, but if you do all this, it spins free money into the economy because all the buy orders are maintained at max value and you just pay 50% less. So it's a source of free money, because when I am buying from, let's find a building that we can buy from. When I'm buying from the shipyard in Guangdong, right, we are paying 306 in here, and 612 versus worth of economic activity is occurring, and this payment of this 612 will be juiced into the economy. People will use it to buy consumer goods at 612. They'll pay taxes based on 612 and all this sort of stuff. And so it spins free money into the economy. And so it allows you to inject money into the economy as the government in a way that is extraordinarily efficient by building more military, because it's going to increase, consumption in a way that's disproportionate to how much you're spending. This is going to be in the early game, construction is still going to be king, and you're still going to ramp up construction more than anything else. But in the late game, when construction falls off and you can barely build a profitable building, you're just going to build military instead, and your entire economy is going to run on this military-industrial complex. And that's third place, Great Qing, with their military bonus. Notably, they also do have an interesting Confucian scholar, minus 100% radicals from standard of living decrease, which is not even... Wait, why is that 100%? I thought it was 50% and then doubled, but they don't have the double bonus. That's interesting. Okay, just continuing on with the summary. In second place, we have Great Britain with their Petite Bourgeoisie, which is absolutely insane. You know, Mummy says your pie is hers in the fascist Mummy run, where you can, with the Petite Bourgeoisie, get plus 50% authority. You know, instead of 10% bureaucracy, you're getting 5% and 50% authority, which is obscene, but also the minus 15% loan interest rate, which as you get more loan interest rate, it becomes more valuable. And so if you get a powerful, you know, super happy Petite Bourgeoisie, you can just spend free money, and this is extremely strong. Also, notably, they do get the company throughput bonus from their Anglican church, and so this is kind of the repressive, the repressive church plus Petite Bourgeoisie type of run, also probably with, industrialists. This might be really, really good on Great Britain specifically. And finally, in first place, as we just discussed, we do have France with their absolutely insane industrialist bonus. Now, they have a bad intelligentsia. Overall, I think the rest of their interest groups are net negative because they are losing the migration. But what you have is their Petite Bourgeoisie is probably a little bit better, with the loan interest rate slightly lower, but also getting minus penalties from turmoil and increased loyalists from standard of living increases. But here, we have just extra state construction efficiency, which is insane. You don't have to go out of your way to do anything for this. The Industrialist, it's already pretty meta. For the other ones, you are going out of your way doing something weird. Brazil, you're going agrarianism. Sweden is Sweden. Protestant, you are leaning into the church, which is not very meta. Qing, you are overbuilding the military, which is not meta. Generally, you don't want extra military. In Great Britain, you're going, fascist, which is not meta. France's bonus is it doesn't necessarily inform your play too much, other than you probably don't go Council Republic as early or at all, but the extra 10% state construction efficiency, absolutely insane. And that's been a little bit of a roundup. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit a like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It does help out. And other than that, have a good day.